Okay, everybody, sorry for the delay. We had an upstairs discussion, took a little longer than we normally do. So I'm going to reopen our session. Well, City Manager, would you please report out?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The council met in closed session this evening. There is action to report. The council voted unanimously to appoint Mr. Stephen Graham as the city attorney.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll call the open session to order at 18:45 hours. And the invocation, Dave Dick, please. Dave Dick's not here. Oh, Nancy, are you going to do it? Thank you.
Please stand. Heavenly Father, we thank you with all of our hearts for this beautiful place that we live in. We're well aware of all of the things that we have to do to keep it that way. We understand our roles. Help us to fulfill those roles. Help us to work together collaboratively with all those in government. Help us to provide for our citizens a dynamic, active, and wonderful city. And we pray this in your holy name. Amen.
John, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bonner?
Here.
Councilmember Castillo? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Aaron-Krantz?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Mayor Green?
Here.
All present.
Okay. Need a motion and a second to approve the city council agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Okay. Chamber of Commerce, Jim Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I want to begin by asking the Canyon Lake members that are prime members to take time and return their ballots to the POA. We got a number back and it's not real encouraging. And all it does is cost people money to redo things.
What's the last date, Jim, for ballots to be turned in?
How many?
When's the last date, mail date?
Oh, the mail date is by Friday. The ballot should be mailed before Friday, or you can drop them off at the POA office.
Okay, so
between,
ideally, they better drop them off versus
right,
mailing.
yeah,
Okay.
that's very true.
What's the current count?
Last one I read was like 1,500.
Wow.
And
Out of 45 or
Out of
43,
40,
42?
48, 45 or 48.
Wow.
That's
I don't
low.
think you could drop them off at the office.
What's that?
I say, I don't think you could drop them off
Dale?
at the POA office. Is that right, Dale?
The way I understand it, is it all right if I talk, Jim?
Sure.
The way I understand it, I heard we had 600 and some ballots in, and we need 1,500-ish to make
That's
quorum.
what it was.
That's the number. So we're about halfway there. We're halfway from getting there, is really the point.
Okay.
And the other point is that it's best if you mail them by May 3rd. If you can't mail it by May 3rd, we recommend that you go there Thursday morning to the meeting and drop them off there at the building. At 9 o'clock, they shut the door. Well, they don't shut the door, but they shut the ballots off. They decide if we have quorum. If that doesn't happen, they go on to
POA
Saturday.
doesn't accept ballots.
Pardon?
No,
You can't drop them off
the
at
people
the
that
POA
accept them are
office.
there that morning.
Yeah, you really need to drop them off. The POA doesn't like to touch anything with the election. It's really HOA elections. Not sure if you can drive it down to HOA elections. I believe in Marietta, I think you probably could, but you're probably best off just to come in on Thursday and drop them off.
Okay, on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's the
At 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock meeting day.
Right.
Okay. Okay, that's next
Okay.
Thursday.
And on Friday, May 10th at 10 a.m. at the Canyon Lake Country Club, Assemblywoman Melissa Melendez will have a town hall meeting. And then she will also have one here in this chamber on the 16th, Thursday the 16th at 6:30. I encourage people to come and, if you've never been to one of her town halls, they're very, they're worth the effort to get there and
Very
hear what she has to say. We'd like to announce that we have 2 new members, Durston Builder and Canyon Lake Fit Body and Boot Camp. And Councilman Smith, you're not allowed to go there. Yeah, I think you know why. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, George Meadow. I'm presenting you with a certificate. Can you hear? I guess it's on, you gotta have it right close to your face. So this is a difficult mic to work with if you're not wanting to have it down your throat. So this is a proclamation, George, Dr. George, and it is on Mental Health Month, recognition of achievement. And all of the whereases, I'll let you read if you so desire, but on behalf of the city, and I know you have some information that you would like to give to us on this resolution, or excuse me, on this important event, and congratulations from us for supporting mental health. It's a very, very important thing in our community.
Sure. First of all, we shake your hand.
Thank you, sir.
Take this. Just a little note out. Good evening, of course, to the council and mayor. Thank you very much for doing this. It's a very important time, because why do we do this? Is to make people in Riverside County aware that 1 in 5 people still suffer from some form of illness. We don't call it's called Mental Health Month, but we tried to change it to behavioural health. In fact, the heading is now Behavioural Health Commission, which I'm a commissioner. And anyway, on behalf of the Riverside University Health System, Behavioural Health Department and Behavioural Health Commission, I would like to thank the Mayor and the City of Canyon Lake for participating in our May's Mental Health Month event by preparing this. And we've been getting these from every city. We get this, I'd like to think you're the only one, but we do get somebody goes, I usually do 2, but we do 1 this month. We appreciate your support of the County of Riverside's continued efforts to raise mental health and substance abuse awareness within the county. And by the way, if any of you have interest, I have a lot of information on this. You will be amazed amount of how the rate of abuse is going up, suicide is going up. We need to get people aware of these things, and I wouldn't mind one day, if you would invite me, I would do a small presentation to let people, based from a city point of view, or what is actually taking place. It is sad, but we're working on it. It's very hard to work on. Whereas this proclamation will be on display at our upcoming May is Mental Month Wellness and Resource Fair. And a few people, there's some over there. This is going to be a great event if you want to support this.
I think so.
This will be a great event. I think you've all got one out there.
Yes.
The fair is a free event, and I would like to invite everyone to join us in celebrating May as Mental Health Month. The fair will be held on Thursday, May the 23rd at 12 to 4 at Fairmont Park in Riverside, located at 2601, it's on there, at Fairmont Boulevard. For more information, I've asked the deputy clerk here to put those around, and she has it done, so thank you very much. Once again, we thank you and look forward to seeing everyone at the fair. And more important than this is, please, every chance you get, just remind people it is a sadness that in a country like the United States, Riverside, that there is still so many people suffering. And if you can get a word out, and give some encouragement out, whenever you meet someone, do it, please do so. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Metal. Okay. Public comments.
Mayor, if I can, real quick, before, under ceremonial matters, over the weekend, we lost a good friend, a good colleague to the region, Councilmember Hyatt in the city of Calamasa. I know that Jordan gets to serve with him on WRCOG, and he was a good friend of my dad's, and he's done well not only throughout Riverside County. So I would just ask that we take just a couple seconds for a moment of silence, if that would be okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Council Smith, I'd like to, when we adjourn, in his name, because I know him very well.
Absolutely. And in fact, maybe Chris, could we do like a resolution? Just I say that because the cities are same size, so close. You guys have worked with each other, so many years. I know Jordan is a really good friend, and he's a phenomenal person, and he was the first council member in Calimesa, and there's just so many relationships that we have, and these two cities came together at the same time, and so if we could maybe do something special for him.
Great. We'll put that together.
All right, thank you, guys. Mayor Clerk, would you read the public comment statement?
Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the City Clerk prior to an individual being heard by the City Council. The City Council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you are commenting on the agenda item, your comments will be heard at the time the particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Please note that if you are addressing the City Council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow for discussion. Therefore, the City Council may only do one of the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information, or request a report back, or give a very limited factual response. We'll start with Darcy Burke.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council, staff, and guests. My name is Darcy Burke. I'm the Division 1 Director for the Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, and I have 3 brief things for this evening. First, thank you for consideration of the resolution supporting the Safe Drinking Water Trust. We really appreciate that. Second, tomorrow is our General Manager, John Vega's last day, and I think it's fair to say that in the last 5 years, he's done a lot, not only to move the district forward, but to rebuild relationships and really make Canyon Lake a priority, which, as some may know, it always hasn't been that way. And lastly, I want to speak just briefly on some things I've seen on social media that you may see in the paper or other media that you subscribe to on the environmental work group about contamination in the groundwater. And there's a saying that whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. And this is just another effort on the governor's part to bring awareness to some groundwater contamination on the smaller systems in which he hopes to pass the water tax. I would also tell people, when you get your consumer confidence report, you see a lot of things about detection. Just because you detect it doesn't mean it's going to hurt you. A lot of the detection is because we have advanced technology now. So for 1 drop of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, you can now detect it. Doesn't mean you need to treat for it. If you were to treat for it, the expense would be prohibitive for all of us. So I would just caution people about what they read and how they read it. Realize most of the 400 systems that the governor is referring to have not tested for most of those contaminants because they don't have the money to do the sampling. So I've also tried to make sure in social media that I leave my cell phone or my email available, and if people have questions or you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a question, Darcy.
I have an answer, I hope.
Okay, are we moving into an algae bloom again? Or was it due to the alum treatment? There were some photos that popped up on, I don't know which one of the sites. It was one of the small coves, and it had really green algae on top.
Bright green.
Yeah, it was pretty thick.
So that was recently right after the alum treatment, and
Yes.
it may cause that. The
Okay.
conditions as you move into summer, algae loves the summer because it's warm, and you have the opportunity for the water to kind of stagnate and stay there. So, and it won't just be our lake. You'll see it in Diamond Valley Lake. You'll see it in Lake Skinner. Those 2 drinking water reservoirs actually treat differently than we do here. They don't use alum. They use a copper sulfate, which actually kills it at a higher rate, but is also not ideal to have body contact with.
Right.
So
They can do it because they're non-body contact lakes.
correct, and we don't want to go there.
No, no, we don't.
No, but I thought it would be, if you see one of those, post it, because our community gets very sensitive to water issues, and lots of other things. So, but we really appreciate what you're doing for us as our
Thank you.
representative.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Zetz.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd like to address 4 things, if I can, with you really quickly, and I know you won't respond. Just National Mental Health Day has come around every year, and over the past years when I've been sitting up there and doing that, it's always been very beneficial. Although one of the things that Dr. Bill didn't talk about is that 1 in 5 people have mental health problems. And so Dr. Biddle and I have a side bet as to this today, and we'll look forward to seeing what happens. In response to your comment to Darcy, my cove had that problem, and it was just horrible. It was all the way from the seawall to the end of the dock, the whole cove. About 6 days later, it was gone. So that was good, and it was nice that she took care of it so fast.
Good job.
Thanks, Darcy.
Okay, I have a couple concerns. One, item 10 on your agenda in the, what I call your secretive non-transparency consent program, did not have anything in it, and said it would be passed out at the meeting, and I didn't get a copy of it. And so everybody in the public is entitled to any document that you get, we are entitled to. And so I didn't get a copy of that, so I don't know what it means. Just that you're going to approve something that, again, in your lack of transparency with the consent agenda, that it's going to go on. And under your claims and demands, I noticed that the city attorney's February billing of $11,840.22 was lined out in zero put there. So I don't know where that money went. And there's a March, April due, which is, we're starting May now, and maybe not April, but March wasn't there. And so where is that all going? Which is to my last thing, that the city council normally has a midterm balance adjustment. I don't know whether you had it or not. Can you tell me when you had it? I looked at your calendars and your agendas and stuff, and I've never seen it. I'm glad that you are possibly going to go through a goal-setting process before you're going to have the budget next month. But it's interesting that we have no budget adjustments. I always think it's ridiculous in some ways to have a budget adjustment in February, mid-year, when you've got 2 months to do anything about it. I think it's dumb, but I don't know that it's any better not having it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
I have one comment.
And I wanted to ask, was the contract not distributed as part?
No, because we had a closed session item that had to be resolved before.
Understood.
Yes.
We'll get to it. Okay. Dale, you want to comment?
I've got an update from one of the constituents from home. They sent me some numbers, and what they're telling me is they have 812 votes in for the POA election, and they need 1,497 to make quorum on Thursday.
So we're barely 50%.
That's so
Yeah, so we're still short. We still want to encourage everybody if you're not the prime member, just a member, grab your prime member and give them an envelope and have them sign and get the votes in. So we have until next Thursday.
Thank you, Dale.
Come on, Canyon Lake.
Canyon Lake, please vote.
Come on. If you're listening out there, please.
It costs us all more money when we don't have a quorum.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Dale. Any other comments?
Yes, next we have Amanda McLaughlin.
Yay.
You can do it. It won't get you. Don't be afraid. It will stay right there.
Okay. I'll try not to look at it. Good evening, City Council, Mayor and guests. My name is Amanda McLaughlin, and I am the pretty new manager of the Canyon Lake Library as of March 19th. I just wanted to get some thank yous out from my team and I at the Canyon Lake Library. One is that we wouldn't be able to put on some of the programs that we're able to do that reach local families, that are so important to local families, without the use of these facilities. So we want to thank Canyon Lake City Hall for that. I also want to talk about our summer reading program, which is coming up. That's going to be from June 10th to July 27th. It's a program in which kids sign up for their personal reading goals and are rewarded when they meet those goals. So it's a great way to beat the summer slump, as it were. And then finally, I'd like to thank the Friday Flyer for giving us a platform for reaching the community in terms of what's going on and what programs we're putting on. And I'd also like to thank the Canyon Lake Women's Club for their continued support of the library.
Okay, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right, any others, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. We have Nancy Horton.
Okay.
This is just as a private citizen. We now have 2 smoke shops in Canyon Lake. We used to have one rather small one, and now we have one large one and one small one. I have a couple of hopes that will happen is that our code enforcement people will be checking regularly. The smoke shop that just opened in its new location has been advertising a number of cannabis products, oils, creams, you name it. And we have an ordinance in our city that we don't sell cannabis products. I don't know the legality of the products versus the actual growing of the plants. I know our ordinance says that we're allowed to grow 6 plants individually for our personal use. But I think somebody should be getting over there to find out exactly what is happening. And the second thing is, there's a great deal of information coming through news media about the use of vaping, the Juul products, and especially that the use by teenagers has just absolutely gone through the roof. And I think we need to be monitoring what's happening in our 2 local smoke shops to see whether they are selling to minors, because that's not legal, and exactly, what kind of threats there are to our community from these 2 organizations. And if we don't check, I believe they will just do whatever they want. So we have to make sure that the owners understand what the city ordinances are, and we have to verify for ourselves exactly what is going on. So I would hope that the council would take this very seriously. I hope the city manager will have people checking on a regular basis, and that we can protect our children, our teenagers, and protect our city's legal status as far as cannabis is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
I have one more card, but it's for a specific item, so we'll hear it at the time that item is called.
Okay, all right. Madam Clerk, would you read the consent calendar statement?
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
Okay, council, is there any items you would like to hold?
I'll pull item number 10.
Okay.
I'd like to pull 8.
8, okay. Number 8 and number 10. Okay. All the others, do I hear a motion for the others? 8 and number 10 are pulled.
I move.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All items on the consent except for items 8 and 10 are approved. Item 8.
I'm sorry, we'll need a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Kranz?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Point of clarification, it's just for items 1
This is
through
for
10
the-
without, okay.
Yeah,
Without
this is for
8
the
and 10.
consent calendar with the exception of items 8 and 10.
Okay, aye.
And Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items 8 and 10.
Okay. Item number 8.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll ask our Administrative Services Manager, Mike Borja, to make a presentation on item 8.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So item 8, is that what we're?
Okay, yes.
So there's a couple of corrections that I need to bring to your attention. So if you turn to, it should be page 188 on the PD Maintenance Service Agreement.
188.
188, correct. If you look at the portion, Article 4, maximum obligation, notwithstanding any provisions of this agreement to the contrary, city and contractor mutually agree to the city's maximum cumulative payment obligation hereunder shall not exceed. I left it blank because we were going to make a determination as to what that amount could be that we want to allow. It could be something to the point where at the discretion of the city manager, or we can actually put a fixed amount, whether it be $2,000, $5,000. I kind of left that open as a decision to council and the city manager to decide. Aside from that, on page 189, I have to make a correction. When we were putting this service agreement together, we kind of started this back in March, and it sort of kind of fell through the cracks, but on Article 8, you'll see at the very bottom there, it says March 1st, 2015. That should actually have been 2019. But in reality, it should be May 1st, 2019. Same with the following page. At the very top, it says April 1st, 2015, and it should also be May 1st, 2019. So I apologize for those errors.
Okay, discussion from council?
No, the only question is, what do you want to do for the exceed number?
Yes, Councilman. So this contract is an as-needed basis. It's not a regular monthly amount. We don't have an in-house public works department, and so on occasion there are times when we need some work done. For example, the council authorized the purchase of golf cart crossing signs. Well, we have no one to put them up. So that would be the example of the type of task that this company could do. Usually these projects are not extensive and not terribly expensive. Still, for consistency, I would recommend that we keep it consistent with the city manager's spending authority. So I would phrase it so that it's consistent with the spending authority.
I'm sorry, I'm following you.
He wants the, instead of having an amount, it's going to be at his authority, which he has a signatory authority based on state law.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I just.
In other words, he'll determine whether it's enough, or he needs to extend it. If he has to, it has to come back to us for a
Yeah,
special
that's
action.
fine. It just was a line there with a number.
So we'll put it at your authority, the city manager's authority. And our city, just so everybody knows, what's that amount that you can?
The council has a policy that has different amounts for different types of contracts. So it's an established council policy.
Okay. So to let everyone know, we have a policy in place already that maximizes what the city manager can authorize. It goes beyond it, he has to come before the finance committee, and we go through the process and then bring it to council.
That was one question. They're going to be performing work on an on-call basis, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Who's going to determine what is necessary? Who's going to make that call?
It actually depends on what it is. You know, we've been using their services when we were with our Charles Abbott folks. They were sort of a subcontractor that kind of did a lot of public works type of projects. It could have been facility related. It could have been things that, you know, something that had to do with Railroad Canyon Road that maybe somebody hit a boulder, they would come out and move it. It depends on what exactly, there's many different things that they can actually do. So a lot of it's street maintenance and facilities maintenance is typically what we would be using it for. They were the folks that actually put up our radar speed signs too.
So there's not actually going to be a category for work performed?
It's going to vary. It'll vary.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on item 8? Okay, do we need a vote for that? Madam Clerk, do we need to vote for item 8?
We do need a roll call vote.
Okay, roll call, please.
Sorry, Mayor. Okay, so this is for the approval of item number 8, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we have a motion and second?
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Kranz?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve pulled consent calendar item number 8.
Okay, item number 10.
All right, I'll get this started off. All right, so contract amendment. The first thing that's in my opinion that needs to be looked at, if this council's okay with it, is allowing for this contract to be reviewed again after 6 months. That would be, I think, extremely important. Some things come to light. I want to applaud Casey for the work that she's done on this. Her legal advice has really helped out, kind of digging in and seeing where we're at and where we're spending funds and how we can allocate those funds in regard to legal matters. So I want to say thank you for all the hard work that you've done on this. I know there's been tons of hours spent. So I'm glad we're here today. We're going to be saving the city money moving forward, which is always important. I'm truly excited about Stephen. I really am. I think it's going to be a good fit, and we're looking forward to having you on board with us and helping us with some of the big things that are coming next. So,
Okay, can I hear a motion for establishing Stephen as our permanent city attorney, or do we need to do that the whole?
No, we did that in closed session. So this item is specific to the contract.
Okay.
Amending the contract with Coalkeeper.
Okay.
and so just for point of clarification, the amendment would be to look at this again in 6 months.
6 months. Public comments?
Go ahead, Mr. Lights.
Can I turn to the card if you don't know that it's going to be talked about? Can you answer my question that I brought up earlier? There's $11,000 that was billed from this same company that was lined out. And with that, if that payment is to be made, then you have $8,000 to spend for the next 4 months. Under your new contract, you're going to spend $5,000 a month, but that doesn't go into effect until June 1st. So in the next 4 months, you have $8,000 to spend to not go over the budget. The budget used to be $70,000. Last year in the midterm that you did have last year, you raised it from $70,000 to $80,000. So this year was budgeted at $80,000. But you're now, if you spend that $11,000, you're at $72,129.91 approximately out of that $80,000. So you're $7,870.09 off. So can you give a clue as to what's supposed to happen in the remainder of the year?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to say that this council has made it a priority to take a look at many of the city operations and existing policies and contracts. This particular contract had not been reviewed in some time. And so we thought it was time to do a review and to do an evaluation. But to answer the specific questions, I'd like to have our new city attorney address those.
Thank you. And thank you for the question. Mayor, I can say that the firm is committed to assisting the city in maintaining its legal budget. The structure that was originally in place was premised on a low usage. As the city grows and becomes complex, sometimes that usage has gone up. I know that there's been a lot of recent events in the city that have required perhaps more legal services than the city would ordinarily want. So with Councilmember Castillo, the mayor, and the entire council in closed session, hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but we have committed to keeping costs under control. We've committed to a retainer of $5,000 a month, which should be $60,000 per year, which is where the city wants its legal services to be. And the hourly rate over that has been dropped significantly. So that sort of goes to the numbers. In terms of the why is February zeroed out, if you look at the agreement which was handed out at the meeting, The billing structure that the council has negotiated is going to be retroactive back to February, which will result in a significant savings not only going forward, but also going back for the city council. The firm is happy to do it. The firm supports the city of Canyon Lake, and I hope that we have a long, prosperous future together. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, we've made some strides, huge strides, and the entire council up here is working with the intent that in 6 months we're going to do a review and look at that time where we are. No longer are we going to wait until things start going sideways on us, and so we've been very active as far as what our business practices are. So, any other questions on item 10?
I would just like a comment. I'm looking forward to working with you, Stephen, and all of you, Stephen, so welcome.
Okay, do we need a motion?
We need a motion and second, please.
Okay, motion.
Motion.
Okay, Councilman Bonner, motion. Second, please.
I have a second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Krantz?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve pooled consent calendar item number 10.
Okay, schedule of future events. Can you list the notices which are going to be on the webpage, Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry, Mayor, one more time.
The schedule of future events, please.
All items are on the city's website and will be available on the Friday flyer if necessary.
So those who are out there in our TV land, we do try to post all of our activities and things that we are scheduling or coming up, and hopefully we'll have lots of different items that you could review and attend and be part of. Okay, business items. Item 11, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Item 11 comes to us as a recommendation, a request from the gas company. Last year, there was legislation in Sacramento that would have all but prohibited the use of any fossil fuels. We haven't seen any specific legislation like that this year, but the gas company is being proactive and asking cities to pass resolutions, sending a statement to Sacramento that residents want local choice. We don't have a lot of gas in Canyon Lake, but we do have some residents that operate off of propane. So if legislation like this were to pass, it could have an adverse effect on Canyon Lake residents. The gas company sent us a draft resolution for consideration. We did reach out to Southern California Edison just to make sure that they were comfortable. They were comfortable. They asked us to do a little bit of work on some of the language, which we did. Both parties are comfortable with this resolution, and it's before you today for your consideration.
Okay, council, you got questions of staff?
No, I'll just say that I get the opportunity to serve with Brandon Lane on RTA. He's the chairman and vice chairman for RTA, and he's obviously the representative for the gas company too. So in doing this, Chris made sure that we reached out to Edison as well, so both are communicating on this resolution. I feel full confident in this. I'm really glad that the work that was done by our city manager to make sure that we weren't upsetting Edison and anything that we're doing too. So it's nice to see people are coming together on this, but that's my only comment.
Okay.
And I can, excuse me if I may,
Go ahead.
I certainly would have to agree with Councilman Smith, but eventually everything's going to go green. You know, this is inevitable, and it's certainly it's a good idea. But for the time being, maintaining control that we have, this is what we need to do at this particular time. Even though we're not classified as a medallion city, we're close to that. So
yes,
we should keep it that way.
I think local control is a good thing for us from a city standpoint. So public comments or any other council comments?
No.
No? Okay, hearing none. Public comments on this item. Going once, going twice. Nobody is going to comment. Okay, we need a motion.
I move.
In a second, please.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Aaron
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve resolution number 2019-12.
Okay, item 12.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution in support of State Senate Bill 669, which is, would establish a safe drinking water trust. Again, there's been legislation passed in Sacramento that would create a statewide tax on local water bills in order to pay to clean up water in disadvantaged communities. SB 669 is proposed as an alternative to creating a new tax. It uses existing funds that the state already has in years like this year when there's a state budget surplus. This comes to us through EVMWD, who has provided the draft resolution for the council's consideration.
Okay, comments from council, please. Okay, hearing none. Public comments. Jack.
Yes, I just have a question with reference to this. What kind of cost are we talking about, tax-wise?
Darcy, would you like to answer?
So Jack, there's a number of options right now proposing the tax. One of them is a trailer bill for the governor's budget. This particular one is no tax. What they're saying is they're going to take the surplus in years of plenty, like we have now at the state, and allocate some of those dollars to do not just cleanup of water, but cleanup of the system, meaning asking smaller systems to combine so that you have some cost efficiencies there, to actually have the bigger agencies that are nearby take over those smaller systems so that they have the technical, managerial, and financial abilities to manage those systems and contamination. So it's basically taking money we already have collected in the general fund and allocating it specifically to a safe drinking water trust.
So the allocation's actually with funds that we already have.
Correct. There's no new tax on
So
this
no new
particular
tax on it.
Senate bill.
Okay, that's not the same tax that I heard about.
That, correct. So the governor proposed a tax in his trailer language, and that's the tax that this is an alternative method of basically not only collecting the money without an additional fee, but using that money more efficiently to improve the system overall.
Perfect. All right, thank you. The comments, okay. A motion, please, and a second.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Aaron
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve resolution number 2019-13.
Okay, item 13, policy amendment. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Item 13 comes to you as a potential solution to an inefficiency that we've identified. Currently, the city's equipment policy allows for reimbursements to council members of up to $60 per month for personal cell phone use and up to $40 per month for home internet services. The problem that we've encountered and discovered is that this reimbursement policy requires some pretty extensive documentation in the form of invoices and bills and forms. We found that it's actually taking quite a bit of staff time, our finance staff time every month, as well as council member time. And it seems that almost every month there is some confusion. For example, the billing cycles from cell phone and internet providers don't necessarily match up with calendar months. It can be confusing. You have to identify which calls are business calls versus personal calls. And all of this time spent on really a relatively very small amount of money. So staff asked our city attorney to look and evaluate whether there's a simpler way to do this. We first asked if this could be accomplished with just a flat monthly fee every month of a combined, $100. It is not allowable, it's not legal to do a flat reimbursement for cell phone or internet use. However, the attorney did identify that it is legal to do a monthly amount as an automobile allowance. And so what's before you today is a recommendation that we amend our city equipment policy to eliminate the cell phone and internet reimbursement, and then to amend our travel policy to add an auto allowance of a flat $100 a month. Should be cost neutral for the city, but it simplifies the process considerably and saves us a lot of time on our finance staff, which are consultants to the city, and that time is very, very valuable.
Okay. Council?
Yes,
Questions?
Chris, we had discussion, but just for clarification, if we go for legal California cities in Palm Springs, that will be in addition to the $100.
Yes, sir. This does not preclude a council member from putting in for mileage reimbursement.
No one else? No one else? Public comment? Anyone in the public?
We do have Mr. John Sites.
Okay.
First, Mr. Mayor, let me thank you for the transparency that you had with item 10 and allowing me to come up and ask those questions and get those answers. And I think that is a great process. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, you're not going to like this, but...
That's all right. Hey. That's what I'm here.
50%.
That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
That was nice stuff, so don't start the 3 minutes. Thank you, and congratulations on becoming the city attorney, Mr. Graham. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find this item interesting. I have a lot to cover, so I'll read as fast as I can. The staff report says that September 2017, you added cell phone and internet at $60 and $40 to the existing policy. 3 of you voted to approve that policy, with Bonner being the mayor and Green on the committee. The city had spent $5,000 up to that point defending a small claims action on the limits. So the council was well aware of the limits. So if the process had proven to be cumbersome and problematic, it was approved by the council. Yes, the process is cumbersome, but part of the problem was staff was not competent to handle the easy process. Some errors by staff caused the mayor to be removed from office due to no fault of her own. The staff report says that fixed monthly automobile allowance for council members, and then says this allowance is considered neither compensation nor an allowance. That has to be written by an attorney, I'm sorry. But it's consideration for the value of city council members. What a bunch of double speak. To increase the double speak, you are requested to approve removing the reimbursement from the equipment policy and add to the travel policy as an allowance, which is not an allowance, of $100 monthly. And in addition, the council can get reimbursed for their mileage. Answered your question. Staff also took out the sentence in equipment that says it applies to the city manager and city attorney. That may just be a CYA for your action 2 months ago. The ability to give a vehicle allowance for years under Code Section 1223 started in 1943 law. It says when traveling expenses are allowed by law to any state, county, judicial district, or the city office, he or she may contract with the appropriate authorities for an allowance or mileage rate for the use of the vehicle owned or rented and used by them in the performance of duty. This was tested in the Court of Appeals because of the disjunctive or. How can you get both when it is said or? The Court of Appeals did give both. In 2010, the Attorney General, and that's the only thing I agreed with Jerry Brown on, wrote an opinion on this. While it does not hold the same weight and speaks as appeals cases does, it has a strong position with the courts. The opinion there is a historical basis for treating vehicle allowances as different from vehicle expense reimbursement. City council members were required to account for their claims for reimbursement well before the enactment of reimbursement statutes. It is well established that any expenditure of public funds, including reimbursement or an allowance provided to public officers, is permitted only where it appears that the welfare of the community and its inhabitants is involved and benefit results to the public. Otherwise, the expenditure is a gift of public funds in contravention of the California Constitution. Accordingly, the AG concluded that the city may provide a vehicle allowance to its city council members in lieu of reimbursing actual vehicle expenses such as...
John, your timer went off.
I just have...
John,
just one debate.
She's got 3 minutes, and we gave you 15 more seconds beyond the 3. So, I mean, if we do 3 minutes for Jack, I got to do 3 for you.
Yeah, but Jack has nothing to say. So
But thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments.
Got some better ones coming.
I know you did, but thank you. We said 3 minutes.
Okay, all right.
3 minutes.
And part of it is going to be taxable to you, so you're not going to get the $100 because it's compensation and not reimbursement.
All right, thank you.
I didn't get that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments from council? Hearing none. Do I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Aaron
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve item number 13.
Okay, item 14.
Yes, sir.
Mr. City Manager.
This item is to ratify an amended agreement which was executed with Interwest Consulting Group on April 5th. Since mid-December, the city has been contracting with Interwest to provide building department services. Previous to Interwest, our previous consultant had what's called a percentage contract. Building department services are supposed to be cost neutral for the city, meaning when an applicant comes and pays their fees, those fees are supposed to cover the taxpayers' costs for the city providing the services. When the contract was signed with Interwest, the agreement was for an hourly rate. Turns out that the hourly rate produced invoices that were significantly higher than the revenue that was coming in. So much so that we felt it necessary to move very quickly to stop the bleeding. Staff worked with the Finance and Planning Committee to get approval to move forward with this contract. The new contract is a percentage. It is a very high percentage. Unfortunately, one of the challenges of being such a small city is that we don't produce the volume of work that a company like Interwest would need to normally provide full-time staff. So it was quite a negotiation back and forth. The result was a contract, a 95% contract, which means that when someone pays their fee, 95% of that fee goes to pay Interwest. The remaining 5% stays with the city to cover our overhead. I will say that we have great hope that we'll be able to bring that number down. The council in December approved new fee structures, which are plugged into our iWork program, which is going into effect as we speak. Interwest has agreed that we will do a 6-month review. 6 months after working in this contract with the updated fees, we're hopeful and optimistic that we'll be able to bring that 95% down, and we're working towards that. But in the meantime, our budget being what it is, we just could not continue bleeding money the way that we were. So staff, with the approval of the Finance and Planning Committee, signed this contract April 5th, and it's before you today for ratification.
Comments from council?
I do. I just want to say thank you for working on this. I know you've only been here for 2 months and you worked for your honeymoon, but 95% sounds rough. It feels rough, but it feels a lot better than the hourly rate. So, wow. Thank you.
Any other comments? Council. I do have to say, our previous contractor currently is charging us roughly $2,500 a month. Is it around 25 for their software? That will, as soon as our iWorks program comes on, those are revenues that our city will retrieve. And our new iWorks program is an integrated system which will help with all of our program management. So again, thank you for this negotiations that went on. Once we found out what contract had been signed, we reacted immediately and came up with this. Hopefully we will renegotiate in the near future, and maybe this cost will come down. Okay, do I hear a motion and a second to approve item 14?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Aaron
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye.
Motion carried to approve item number 14.
Okay, item 15. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Tonight I have before you staff report asking for council's recommendation to authorize the city manager to reallocate previously allocated community development block grant, also known as CDBG, towards City Hall ADA accessibility projects that have been identified in an accessibility report that we had put together just recently. As you know, the city has been allocating money, federal funding through HUD, called CDBG, towards low to moderate income programs and projects. In the past, the city has been using that funding towards a home repair program and also distributing some of that, I think it's about 15% out towards public service agencies. Just recently, well, actually in November of 2018, we had a meeting with County EDA. Habitat for Humanity oversees the home repair program, and we found a lot of issues pertaining to the program that county is recommending that we sort of do away with the home repair program. And we've kind of identified a few different things as to why that is. Since 2016, 2017, we still have some outstanding or remaining balances still left of money that hasn't been used, that each year is being carried over by county through extensions with HUD. And because the home repair program hasn't been as active as it once was when it first started back in 2014, 2015, we're hoping that maybe what we can do is take some of that funding that's still left, that's still part of 16, 17, 17, 18, and putting that towards some accessibility projects here at City Hall. There's a report, if you look at it, there's over 40 different projects that have been identified in the report. Some extensive, some minor. So we're looking to see if maybe that funding can go towards making those type of repairs and improvements. So again, staff is asking that we utilize some of that funding that's still available, that's been sitting basically with county, and just put it towards some City Hall ADA improvement projects.
Okay, questions, Council?
Yes, if I may. Go ahead, Randy. Go ahead.
Okay. Two things. In the last 2 years, we gave the money to Hope. And is Helping Hands going to be capable to get money?
In the previous 1920, when we received an allocation from CDBG, Helping Hands wasn't a qualified or approved public service agency for various reasons. Part of it is the county requires that if they're going to be given to a service like Helping Hands, they have to also be able to provide their services regionally. And what I mean by that, it can be any other city aside from, including Canyon Lake. Helping Hands only serves Canyon Lake. So that pretty much disqualifies them from qualifying for CDBG funding. They have to be able to be working with other cities and providing their services there too. But they're only doing it here, so because of that, they were disqualified from receiving any of that funding.
So you're saying Hope is going to multiple communities?
Hope serves regionally. It serves all the cities in Riverside County, even Canyon Lake, maybe not as much as maybe they should, but they also do serve Canyon Lake too as well.
Okay. Then the other part is talking about ADA. I saw the pictures were all having to do with this current city hall.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to move over to the city manager and the deputy. Is that going to, the A&E going to go toward that effort as well?
No, this is just strictly City Hall. What's been identified in the report. We took in consideration some of when we put the administrative offices in place, we've implemented and made sure that what we have there is all ADA compatible. So we actually had our building inspector do an inspection of the facility, and then they identified some minor things that we need to do, but it was part of the plan as when we first kind of moved in there. These here are strictly just for City Hall, and that's kind of what the funding would be used towards.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
My turn?
Yep.
Okay, so a couple things. Mike, in regards to Helping Hands.
Yes.
I know that we've been working on this, so point of clarification, because I know that Helping Hands is actually doing things outside of Canyon Lake. The issue, last time when they applied, the application process wasn't done properly, so therefore I know that we're actually going to help them this time with the county to make sure that they're applicable to receive these funds in that regards moving forward. I just want to make sure that point is made, because I know for a fact that Helping Hands is doing things outside of Canyon Lake as well. I know the county sees that differently than what's required.
Yeah.
So just, am I right in saying that?
So in August, I think when CDBG comes up again, I think one of the things that we've identified that we're going to do for Helping Hands is point them in the direction of maybe receiving allocation or applying for allocation through county EDA,
right,
and also through Supervisor Jeffrey's office.
Right.
So if they do that and they qualify and they receive funding, then automatically they would also be applicable for our CDBG funding that we would receive.
Right, because I think that's got to be, at least for me, a priority. I know that we've been working on that.
So when that time comes, we'll work on that.
We'll work on
that to see what is it that we can do to get that.
Right. The second thing that I had mentioned, this was brought to our budget meeting, and Councilwoman Castillo was able to join us on this, so we had some conversation. Larry, I know you had jury duty. One of the discussion items that we brought up is how much outreach we've actually done in regards to the mobile home park, and have we done our due diligence as a city, reaching out to anyone and everyone who could be applicable for these funds. And the response that I received from Mike is they did a Friday flyer ad, they did some outreach via social media and some other outlets. The one thing that was not done was a targeted mail piece with the application directly to these particular folks that could apply for it.
If I can update you.
Yeah, because I know you were going to look into
Yes,
that.
yeah. So I reached out to Habitat for Humanity. They're the ones that oversee the home repair program. They initially, when they came on board, they did distribute out flyers to the mobile home parks back when they came on board. Since then, they haven't. However, it was done that way. It was posted on our website. We did a Friday flyer advertisement. And so that's been kind of the extent of it. Have we done a direct mailer? We haven't not done a direct mailer to them. But to point out, they're the only qualifying area for in Canyon Lake.
Right. Do we have I know that you were going to look into this. Do we have an exact number on how many residents that would be, how many parcels, how many addresses that would be, so we have an idea what that would cost before?
I haven't gotten that. I didn't get that number in time.
Okay. So, I mean, because that was my concern is I think the last thing to cross off the list, in my opinion, is sending that direct mailer on behalf of the city. Just whatever we can do, identifying that these funds are still here. And before we move forward on some of our, and by the way, Interwest did a phenomenal job on this report. I mean, they've identified some really good issues that we need to address. But I think it's our job to do everything that we can to let the community know about those funds. And I think that's the last resort to say, hey guys, we did all we could. That's just my opinion.
And I agree.
Okay, Jordan?
I'm surprised looking at this report. Have we been cited for these violations by the ADA?
No, we haven't.
We've gotten away with this all these years.
No, see, these things, if we were to do a rehab, they would come up. The fact that we're not doing any improvements to City Hall whatsoever doesn't bring up the fact that some of these things are not.
But we're still out of compliance with the ADA.
At the time when the facility was built, we were not.
But we are now.
We are now.
We've told everybody we are by this report.
Yes, but at the same time too, they have to know that, when the code comes up, it comes up when you do a renovation or a rehab.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I was just curious what our intentions were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, Mike. I believe some of the problems, and I hopefully, maybe this flyer will cover it, isn't there some income-driven issues with this grant? If you make too much money, you can't qualify?
There is, yeah. Not only that, too, when we opened this up to the homes behind the gates, one of the big factors was, although some people, income-wise, they met the requirement, most of the applicants were sitting on a property that were at least $500,000.
Did they take that into consideration?
Yes, they do. So county has a limit as to what the home value can be. In order, it has to be less than $375,000. The applicants that receive their homes are well above that.
If I may, Mike, if it's okay, Mayor, one question. Is there a deadline on this?
There isn't.
Okay, with that, I would put the motion on the floor that we pull item 15 and we look at doing a possible mailer and see what the cost is for that. I think at least this is me speaking, I think that's important that we do that due diligence.
At least cover all the bases.
At least cover, because that's the last thing and we've done it all.
Okay.
What I can probably do too is I can see if maybe that funding that we still have there can be used for some mailers. I'm
Awesome.
not sure, so I can probably find that.
Okay, we have a recommendation by Councilman Smith that item 15 be pulled and sent out until we get a flyer out to see how many people actually may want to apply for what funds.
Now, this will be to the mobile home parks areas, which is the area that's been identified as low to moderate income threat in the city of Canyon Lake.
Okay. All right, do I hear a second? Do we need a second to pull it?
Second.
Okay, so roll call, please. Do we need roll call? Pull item 15 off the business calendar? Or we're just sending it back?
Sorry, my mic works now. If you can do this, you want to do this by consensus, was that the question, Mayor?
I want to know we want to pull this item off our business calendar.
You can do that by consensus. You don't need to do a roll call vote to do that.
Okay, then we'll pull item number 15. Okay. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Good work.
Public comment allowed?
Yes.
I am a volunteer for both Hope and Helping Hands. I've been volunteer for Hope for about 5 years. The difference between the two organizations is that for Hope, you have to go there on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday mornings in a car, pick up your bags of groceries that you're allowed to have, and sometimes it's hygiene items, and you leave. There are approximately 20 seniors that are being delivered groceries once a month, and that's what I do with my husband and have done for 5 years. Just 20 county-wide. The difference with Helping Hands, and I need to tell you that there are 18,000 food fragile adults in the southwest Riverside County area right now. What we do is Helping Hands provides 300 volunteers to deliver to 800 people in their homes because they are shut-ins. They cannot get to hope. The territory that I cover is Menifee, Paris, Canyon Lake, Murrieta, Wildemar, and Temecula. I have not had a single client in Canyon Lake. I have 15 clients that I supervise through a meeting that Robert Sasser and I had with the county social workers who handle the Department of Social Services, Adult Protection Services. That's what we do. The social workers call me and say, I have a gentleman with a broken motorized wheelchair. Can you go and assess the situation and help? That's what I did this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Sometimes they just say, could you take 2 bags of food to this lady whose husband just died? She has no money and no food. We have provided a door for a woman in Sun City whose back of her house had no door. She had ladders and garbage pails over her back door. We have provided carpentry services for people that needed something simple like a sink fixed or a leaking toilet. My son is a volunteer head plumber and he's done leaking toilets. I can't tell you, every day the phone rings and there's another person who needs our services. All over the county. I go in my own car and I deliver the food and I write down what the people need. I have a homeless person who just got an apartment in Lake Elsinore. She doesn't have a refrigerator or any furniture, and she and her son and daughter are sleeping on the floor. I took her ice for her ice chest, cold water, and food. So I don't understand why Helping Hands is getting this bad rap that we don't qualify. It could be simply that the people who make the decisions are not aware of what really is going on. And I think the same thing is true for Habitat for Humanity. In my experience with the mobile homes, and when I was on the council, we did this. That's when we first got CDBG funds. Through the post office, through Debbie Gagnon. She knew the people, helped them fill out the forms, and they got funds from CDBG. Since Habitat for Humanity took over, the funds are drying up. They can't get the funds anymore.
Nancy?
So I'm sorry I'm over time, but I would like to continue this conversation, and I thank you very much for pulling this item.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, and we will follow up with you. I'm sorry, Nancy, the timer just went off. She must have just started it. But anyway.
Probably for the better, thank you.
That's okay. Well, thank you for your input, and we will definitely take that information, and because you obviously got a lot of inside info as far as what's going on. Okay. With that, item 15 is pulled, no roll call, no motion, so we'll move to public hearing. And Madam Clerk, would you read the title, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 16 is a time and place fixed for a public hearing to consider the adoption of resolution number 2019-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake, California, establishing and adopting updated city rates, charges, and user fees for special events and commercial filming permits, along with a CPI escalator.
Okay, we'll now open the public hearing, and this is at 17:58 hours, or 19:58, excuse me.
Mayor, City
Staff
Council.
presentation. Mike.
Staff is bringing this forward in regards to City Council to adopt some improved costs of service per activity rates, charges, user fees, as mentioned for these special events and commercial film permitting. Back in December, in December 2018, when we approved the fee study, there was some misunderstanding with regards to 2 particular fees, the special events permit and the commercial filming permit, between staff and the consulting, NBS Consulting at that time. When it was approved based on what was previously already adopted for those particular fees, which was a $25 deposit-based fee. When we went through the process of this, staff had recommended that we go and approve the full cost recovery rate of each of those fees. So what we're asking council to do is to basically approve what are considered to be the cost of service per activity fee for special events permit, which is, it was a $25 deposit, but it'd be an $84 cost of service fee. And with the commercial filming permit, from $150 deposit to $307.
Okay. Questions from council? Okay. Questions from the proponents of it? Jack?
I'm not really a proponent of raising the fees. I think that's a smart move. The one thing that I noticed in your listing here, you list in commercial film permits. And with that, I think it's extremely important before you adopt any rules with reference to cost that you get together with the BOA, because it would be a combination. I don't know what you know about the filming industry, but I spent 25 years as a movie guy from LA County, and that was my project. I served on the board of directors, and all of this has to go through what they refer to as their film location managers. Our location is not in that book. If you want it in that book, I'll help you put it in. But the thing that you have to do is to get together with the BOA. If they want to use, if they come in, for instance, they want to use a lake or so on, then you have to bring in the water company also, because it's a different agreement. Is it lucrative? Very lucrative, and it could be an income for both of you. But if you want to do that, I'd be glad to help you.
All right, thanks, Jack. Any other comments, please? Anyone that has an opposition to the proposed adoption of our two fees that we have before you, to let you know, these two fees were actually missed and actually were identified in our first review of our fee study, and then were missed when they actually published the fee, and it wasn't discovered until we are actually coming out for our first reading. So this is a cleanup item, and I don't know if any of you know, but we hadn't had a fee study done in about 8 to 9 years. So we're planning to now have a more frequent review because we were so far out of compliance, when I say compliance with our surrounding cities, that we were obviously very low on the revenue source based on that. So with that, I will.
Mayor, I have.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jack, for bringing that. I minored in cinematography in college, and I was one of the guys that would have to go pull permits when we wanted to go and shoot in certain locations. And one of the biggest caveats was dealing with HOAs. For me, it was in Orange County. So what do we do in this regards if you know, a filming production company comes to the city and they're saying, hey, we want to do a film and do this. Do they pay this fee and then go pay another fee with the POA? Or is the right hand talking to the left hand? I mean, we really can't grant that access from the city. So have we made those points of clarifications and how we're going to handle that? Because I think that's going to be pretty disappointing if they come here and we're not prepared for that.
And I'm not sure that that's been addressed, but definitely you guys have raised some interesting or good points that we need to take into consideration. Because I'm very familiar with these fees from where I came from, and we need everybody on the same page. So I hear you.
Yeah.
We need to sit down and have a discussion.
I mean, I'm all for, you know, doing business as, but just as long as we're giving all the information we can to people who are pulling these.
Absolutely.
These permits, so.
Okay. Any other comments from council, public? Hearing none, I will close this public hearing at 20:04 hours. Discussion by council.
I think those points are well taken, and I agree with your sentiment that we should really have that information before we move forward.
Yeah.
So do we want to approve it, or do we?
So this is just a hearing, right? This is just the first reading of this, so we can make changes before it's brought back to council? Am I?
That is correct. I mean, if you would like to make changes, you're free to do so. That's the point of the hearing. I think that if what we're talking about here is in having that synergy with the POA and perhaps with the water district, I think you can go forward on the fee as is with additional direction to the city manager to address those issues.
Here's my concern with that. If the POA has something in place, I would hate for them to get hit twice. You know what I mean? I would hate for them to pay a fee of $307 and then the POA has another, I would rather help out, right? Bring the business, do all we can to partner so it's not just getting gouged by the opportunity to come and film in Canyon Lake and that whole strategy. So that would be my only concern with approving this as it stands right now, just because we don't know what else is out there, like you said, with the water or with the POA. I think that's kind of important.
Well, should we, can we split out the movie fee?
You can certainly approve one of the fees and not the other. If you want to leave the public hearing open and continue it to your next meeting to allow the city manager time to research that for you, you can do that as well.
And I hate to be this guy tonight, but in regards to special events permit fee as well, we're issuing a permit fee to do a special event inside the gates, or are we only giving them access to the town center? Because that's our jurisdiction.
No, go ahead. It's inside the gates for both.
Okay, so then my comment would be that as part of a group that has just put on a special event and had to get POA permits, I would join in your concerns, because it sounds like a deterrent where you're basically paying twice.
Yeah, so with let me just for point of clarification as well, if I'm an outsider and I'm going to put on a special event inside the gates and I go pull this permit, what does this give me access to? Can I just walk in the gate now with my event, with my wedding, whatever I'm doing? Or, that's the point of clarification, right? Is because it seems like we're granting access to a private community with this special event permit. I paid my permit fee, leave me alone, I can go do the event. When we all know that in order to do that, you have to work with the coordinator over in the POA, especially if you want to utilize any of the parks or the facilities, or anything along those lines.
Councilman, if I may, the item before you is simply to set the fee. This item doesn't address any of the details that may be surrounding an event or what it does or doesn't give access to. The existing policies of the city and the POA would apply there. I would caution that the fee study that was done for the city took into account the actual costs of the city for providing the service. So there has to be a nexus. We don't just make the number up. This is an estimate of an estimation of what it costs the city to provide the services. So if the council decides that you want this number to be lower than this because applicants also have to pay the POA fee, that's certainly within the council's purview, but just understand that means that the city will probably not be recouping the actual costs for the city for providing the service. You can make an argument that then the taxpayers of the city are subsidizing the cost of having that event. Again, a policy decision for the council, but just some things to take into consideration.
Right. And honestly, guys, it's very common for a city to have use permits even on HOA projects, because there is sometimes there's inspections to go with that, especially if it's outdoor stuff. So I think this was just established in that fee, and I believe you're right. There are some other things that need to be taken into consideration, but this was actually what the consultant came up with.
I would just say that, notwithstanding your points, Mayor, I think before we move forward, we should have that information.
Yeah, I would just rephrase it. Think of it this way: if we're looking at these, and I get it, right? There's a cost of doing business, but if we knew in the back of our mind how much the POA is charging, or if there's a partnership opportunity in regards to some of the administration fees with pulling permits, because I can guarantee you that consumer is going to have to go to the POA before they can proceed on these permits either way. So since we have, again, this is the POA city working together.
The one thing that I should tell you, again, these have to do with inspections. And it's things that a private entity like the POA cannot do. It has to be done by folks that are licensed and can do these type of inspections, and that's the city. So this is no different than what we've had before. We're not implementing 2 new fees that have not been in place. All we're doing is asking to higher up the fee to recuperate a full cost recovery for the city, because in the past, we haven't been doing that.
Are you saying these would be, an example of the inspection that the city would do would be perhaps fire marshal coming out and
Correct,
looking to make
yes.
sure we are compliant with fire
There's a
extinguishers?
process, there's a process to all those. POA puts on an event, Fiesta Day. They have to apply for this special events permit because there are inspections and things that they have to follow that meet the requirements for state for code, whether it be if they're going to have electrical or something to the extent of fire, canopies, things of all kinds of different natures that the POA cannot do, the city has to do. So again, we're not changing any of these particular permits. They're not new. They've been here. All we're trying to do is recuperate our entire cost for the time that we put into these fees. If that makes sense.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
You have public comments, you've got 2.
Okay.
I'd like to make a recommendation to you. Go ahead with your permits, standard permits that you're going to raise, and pull the commercial filming out. At the present time, that requires quite a bunch of things. You got fire department, police department, you've got special effects. There's a lot of things that have. In fact, I'll give you I wrote the manual for the film for LA County Fire, and my manual is used all over the country. And I'll get you a copy of it, and you guys can go through it and figure out how you want to work it with the POA. But it's extremely important that you work with the POA and not set a procedure down. It's not the same as inspecting the guy's house and so on. That's strictly, what you've been doing. But I would pull just a section out, kind of work with it a little bit, and then bring it up later on. And that'd be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
If I can make a note, when it comes to special events, we're working together with the POA. So we don't make the determination of who goes behind the gates to put on an event. That's the POA. A lot of times too, where these sort of kind of come up, if a family is going to have a birthday party over at Happy Camp, for example, and if they have more than 50, they're required to get a special events permit, more than 50 people there. So we're working together with the POA. This is not something that we do not do in conjunction with the POA. Folks will go to the POA for whatever it is required. They will tell the city, you got to go get a special events permit. That helps.
Okay.
Here's Dan.
Okay, Dale.
I just have a comment on what is a special event. I mean, is a Little League game a special event when you have 3 teams going? Do they have to pay $80? Because they have more than 50 people, right? So the POA has a dinner for their employees, there's more than 50 people at the lodge. So my question is, the fee doesn't sound bad as long as it's truly a special event. But if every time we get more than 50 people in the community together, it's an $80 fee, that seems to be out of line.
No, and that's not what we're proposing.
I just putting that out there.
Yeah, you're right, Dale. We're not out, because every gathering that we have at our events, it's not to fee it. But there are special situations that people come together, and usually they come to you guys first, and then they send them here. So
Yeah, that seems realistic.
And usually we're following the guidelines that they've set up, that they have set in place for when you have to go to the POA and get notification, like use of the parks, or that kind of
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a special place, special event,
Yes.
not a lodge event where it's typical and normal.
No.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we got a couple things out proposed. One is to take the movie fee and rework it and see what we can do jointly. Or number two is to adopt it as is, or number three, send it back with some additional work. I think Mike pointed out that these are fees that are already in place. We have them now, so if they come in tomorrow with a special event permit, because that's not stopped, they'll pay the existing fee until we can work this out. Or this actually was a recommendation of our consultant. And we're no different than the surroundings. They actually look at actual cost. So this is for us to break even. So I guess I put it out for you, for council to, are we wanting to take action on adopting the resolution, or we want to send it back? Which's the good of the order?
But it's a first reading, we're gonna have a second reading, right?
No, this is what re-adopting of.
This is a resolution, so there's only one.
Okay, because we've already adopted the fees, 2 readings, okay. Jeremy?
I would put a recommendation that, we pull the commercial filming permit fee. And guys, I'm not trying to be a pain. The only reason why is just because we're probably not going to take a look at this again, in a while at least. And this is an opportunity to really dive into it and see what's going on with the POA. Maybe this is an opportunity for a business opportunity as well, to look and captivate a different group of audience. So my suggestion tonight would be that we adopt the special events permit fee, and we go ahead and pull commercial filming permit fee, and we take a second look at that.
Is that a motion?
No, not yet, we're not done. We got discussion. Casey? Jordan?
I really don't see any problem with leaving it the way it is, with all due respect to Jeremy. I can't remember the last time anybody ever wanted to pull a permit for this type of a filming activity. We had a rogue photographer in here years ago doing a commercial on Canyon Lake, but I'm satisfied with the way it is. I don't understand. I don't know if the POA even has a category for a filming permit fee, but I would approve it as is.
Okay. All right, I gotta ask the council, I guess we take a vote on either to leave in the commercial filming permit or pull it. With the.
If I might recommend it, it'd be helpful if maybe someone made a motion and then we could.
Okay. Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll make. I thought I did, but I'll make the motion again that we keep the special events permit fee, and we pull the commercial filming permit fee, so we can have the conversation with the POA, because just like several of us have said, we don't know where the POA stands on this particular one. So that would be my suggestion.
And along with the special events proposal, also the CPI escalator is also included, is that, okay? That's the last part, so, okay. So we got a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution with the pulling of the commercial filming permit to put further work into it with the POA. Okay. Do I need to have, I don't need a second.
We need a second.
Okay, I need a second.
I would make a second.
Okay, now we need a vote. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonner?
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Kranz?
No,
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Green?
Aye. Okay.
Motion carried with Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Kranz voting no.
Okay, city manager comments.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just a few things this evening. Just a quick update. The move of our admin functions to the new office space is going well. As of this past Monday, we are functional in the space for the most part. It's been quite a process, and I want to give a lot of credit to Anna and Mike, who've just really been working a lot of overtime, going above and beyond to put everything together. It's much more involved than I think we even contemplated going in, but a lot of the furniture is in, the computer networks are in and working. Tomorrow morning, Anna has to get here at 6 a.m. To meet the technician to get the phones working, but it's coming along. It's coming along nicely. Along those lines, we did give notice yesterday to Mr. Regas that we will be terminating the lease on the space currently occupied by our enforcement division. That'll be a savings to the city of about $250 a month there. We'll have the space to the end of this month, which will give us a chance to kind of get through all the paperwork that's built up there. The finance department has to go through most of that still, so they have until the end of the month to do that. I don't think it's a coincidence that yesterday I received a call from Mr. Regas informing me that when he returns from an RV trip in June, his intent is to put the building up for sale. He wants to give the city the first option to consider it. Specifically, what he's selling is the space I just described, along with the very back portion of the library. The city already owns the bulk of the library, but there is a small portion in the back that we lease and turn around and sublease to the library currently. He has indicated that his asking price for that space will be $540,000. So we'll probably bring that to the Finance and Planning Committee and just see if there's any interest, at all, if it makes financial sense for the city to consider that. A couple of enforcement items. We are still looking at the fire code enforcement program. Still working on that, so I hope to be able to bring something to the council in the June meeting there. Along the enforcement lines here, an item you will likely see next month pertains to our code enforcement and special enforcement. An incident that occurred at the BLM land a few weeks ago prompted us to take a look at our policy or lack of policy in regards to equipment that we send our enforcement people out with. Used to be that our enforcement people went out with a belt that they carried pepper spray and a taser. That changed several years ago and hasn't been revisited. And so I've asked Gina Dixon to take a look at putting a potential policy together that would include what equipment they should be carrying in, when they should be carrying it, and what training should accompany that equipment. And I hope to bring that to you at the next meeting. A few dates to keep in mind. Next week on May 8th, Wednesday, May 8th at 5:30, we'll be having a goals session meeting to lay out goals for the rest of the year. At that same special meeting following the goal session, we'll be having a budget workshop. Our finance director, Terry, will be here that evening. We've been working diligently on crafting the 2019-2020 budget. It's coming along nicely, so we'll have a healthy discussion about the budget on May 8th. On Wednesday, May 15th, we have a special meeting at 5:30 regarding the housing element update. That will be here at 5:30. A reminder about our Public Safety Town Hall on May 22nd at 6 p.m. We're still trying to nail down the location. We're trying to have it located at the church, Canyon Lake Community Church. We're still waiting for confirmation from the church on that. And then the date hasn't been confirmed, but the next City Council POA joint meeting will be in June. We're tentatively looking at the 24th, but that has not been set in stone yet. Lastly, I'd just like to say on a personal note, today marks my 2 months with the city, and I'd like to thank the council. I really feel good about the direction we're headed and the things we've been able to get done in such a short amount of time, and the things that we have in the works. I'd like to thank you for your patience with me as I get up to speed, and for allowing me a little bit of time off to get married and go on a honeymoon. It's a great time. I appreciate Councilman Bonner giving me a hard time, questioning how such a good-looking woman ended up with me. I still haven't figured that out. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Aaron Kratz wants to know about the July 4th council meeting. Are you?
Yeah, we were planning on bringing that up at the June meeting.
Okay.
When we have a little bit better idea what issues we may or may not need to bring up. We'll have a better idea at the June meeting whether we can forego the July meeting altogether or whether we might want to schedule a special meeting. So we plan on bringing that to you in June.
Okay, so whether we move it forward, backwards, or go dark?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like there's a holiday or something on July 4th.
No, there isn't. There's nothing goes on in this place on July 4th, so, except for we got a lot of staff money goes out. Okay, council member, remember you have 3 minutes, and Anna's got the clock, so Don, if you get past it, and we will definitely keep it to 3 minutes. Councilman Bonner.
All right, Riverside County Transportation Commission, you probably might have saw the article about 3 weeks in the Press Enterprise. There's a discussion about the call boxes, and they're going to the number of call boxes, and there's 2 parts to it. Part of it is the technology, the expense to upgrade them from technology, and also the maintenance. And so there was probably the longest meeting I've had at RCTC trying to figure out how we can reduce the number of call boxes but make sure we're having people protected. And the commissioners took a lot of time, and we came back a second time and made some adjustment and actually increased the number. But there's certain areas where you can't use the 911 phones, and they want to make sure the commissioners have coverage in all part of the county. So that was a good area. The second part is the city manager stole my town hall meeting on May 22nd, and we're going to hope to have it at the gymnasium at church, and I'll bet Nancy could help on that, making that work. And then we have 2 roundtables coming up this month in May. The May 13th is the Normal City POA Water District Law Enforcement. And then on Tuesday, the 14th, and Larry, I'm going to ask if you could possibly attend, because we're going to bring Chris and a number of people update on what we've been doing relative to economic development and PLM. Okay, I will try to be there. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I believe I've got another commitment. But if I'm not, if I can get there, I'll definitely be there. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it. Okay. You adjourn.
Thank you. I don't have too much to talk about. I did want to say that yesterday at the public safety meeting, I thought we had a good conversation with the lieutenant from RSO. In response to our request for more comprehensive reports, we're now getting total number of arrests, not just stats that seem kind of unexplained. And so I'm grateful for that. I know you're coming with new information next time, so we keep adding more to your plate, but I appreciate it because I think that a lot of the citizens do have the same questions, and so we're getting a better idea of what we're actually dealing with in Canyon Lake. So thank you for that. I've been attending the TMDL and LEGWA sessions. Interestingly, at the last TMDL meeting, which was almost 4 hours long, there was quite a discussion as to the status of Canyon Lake. It's interesting to sit through those meetings and hear just how fortunate we are in terms of our water quality. You know, there's a lot to be grateful for compared to some of the other areas in our region. The stat that I thought was very interesting was that they The scientists say that we're at 103% of where we're supposed to be. But with that being said, looking forward to the future, that's also something they're taking into consideration with the budget. And considerations they're looking at is whether or not we will continue to receive the same amount of alum treatments if we are at a place where we do not need as much alum, if dredging actually would be a different alternative. These are all things that are being talked about at the meetings. I was quite impressed with the consultant who was there on behalf of Canyon Lake because they absolutely were advocating for us. And so I will continue to keep you posted on that, but it is something where the budget is getting revised, and so I definitely want to make sure that we have our voice heard. And look forward to the SCAG conference, I guess, at the end of the week.
Okay, Jordan.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have any report on my city council responsibilities because I was absent last month, and I'm not going to go into the details about that. But I would like to take this opportunity, and I think everybody knows, that tomorrow is National Prayer Day. I'm not going to be able to attend because I have an obligation with the commitment to SCAG that requires my voting early in the morning. So, but I am asking everybody at this time to either, as Jeremy mentioned earlier, please say a prayer for the families of a dear friend and a colleague to everybody. Jim Hyatt passed away unexpectedly 4 days ago. Jim was one of the founding fathers of Calimesa. As a matter of fact, we used to kind of rib each other on occasions. He would always tell me that Calimesa incorporated 1 minute before Canyon Lake did, and I would tell him just the opposite, that we incorporated 1 minute before Calimesa did. But with that in mind, please keep his family in your prayers, because I certainly intend to do that. And if I still have time, I've been reminded that today, in 1992, somebody used a saying that I apparently was guilty of plagiarism and used it when closing some of my meetings over the past few years. And Rodney King said in 1992 on this day, "Can't we all just get along?" And I've tried that, and it's worked sometime. And as a standard as I am, and I have this written, I've had closing statements that I've used over the years. So if you'll bear with me, I would just like to use this one once again because I think it's appropriate. We should notice that the hills are covered in living green velvet. Trees are leafing, birds are nesting, and flowers are blooming. Our abundant rains have brought us a particularly lovely rebirth of spring. So despite our man-made problems, we are blessed. Smooth away those frowns as we work our way out of our troubles. There are limited reasons for us to smile. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right. Busy month, as most of us are hanging on, almost getting ready for the summer. We had a lot going on this month. Roundtable as always was good. It was well attended. Councilwoman Castillo was there. The fire showed up for the first time, so that was good. I think that was in part to our city manager inviting them as well, so I think that's productive. Also after that, we had our dredge meeting. I just want to say thank you, Darcy, Dale, Jack, seriously, all the hard work that you're doing. It's such an important element of what's coming next, and keep on, guys. Seriously, it's going to be something that we're going to need to help. If we can partner with you guys, that's what we're here for, so please don't give up on that. I know it's a tough battle. Also, I met with the mayor of Eastville last month. As you guys know, you probably read, they're looking at the idea of also starting their own police department. So it's our job to keep those conversations moving forward, and I think that's important. Had a really good meeting with them and looking at some of the structure at which they're looking at. Riverside Sheriff Annual Award Ceremony took place last month. Was able to attend that on behalf of the city. and honor some of our guys who were able to, there's just so many incredible stories that take place with our sheriff's department. You just can't believe what these guys do out there in the field, in the Call of Duty. Anyone in first responders, it's very humbling to see, and Chad Bianco did a phenomenal job recognizing his guys. So that was an amazing event. Also, the city manager and myself went to Sacramento last week with the league. I know most of you up here have done that before. It was my first time. Wow. It's pretty insane what's going on in Sacramento right now. A lot of buzz. When we were there were 25,000 people. The Capitol was swamped. It was insane. There was a lot going on. But some hindsight to take out of that was Chris and I had some really good meetings with not only senators but assemblymen and women as well. A couple bills to keep on the radar. SB2 is something that's probably going to help us with the update housing element, so we need to stay close eyes on that. SB5, this council previously probably remembers redevelopment funds. They're looking at using this as an opportunity for that, which will help us out. And then a negative legislation, which my entire page could be full of that, but I'll just point on this one, is SB 50, which is the upzoning. And this is an anti-local control bill that they're trying to push. Basically, it's saying that they're going to take away local control of your cities to decide who builds Section 8 housings in certain areas. So this is a pretty scary one that's being mandated by the state, so we want to keep our eyes on that. In regards to assembly bills, as the chamber mentioned, come out May 10th. Melissa Melendez will be giving her update. Let's support her. She's doing a phenomenal job up there, and she'll give us an update on what's happening in the assembly. And trust me, the list is very long. So that's going to be extremely crucial. Lastly, I get the chance to sit on RTA, Riverside Transportation Agency. I'm blessed to serve on that committee, and they're doing some phenomenal things. Technology is a priority this year, but they're looking at different accounts too. They're doing a lot of rideshare options for our students. They're putting in some new routes for some of our folks to help out with night shifts and some of the other work. So good things are happening in Riverside County. And lastly, like Jordan said, National Day of Prayers tomorrow. So keep that in mind. I hope we don't need a national day to remember to pray, but just keep that in mind that tomorrow's that day, and hope anyone and everyone's going to be attending the event we have at the lodge. If not, there's a lot of events going on. So with that, that's it.
Thank you, Jeremy. Speaking of SB2, we in Canyon Lake have been dealing with our housing element, our RENA numbers, which mean the number of housing element units we need. And there's a lot of discussion about that. We're in the process of updating our housing element plan, which we got a meeting for. But the state has said that the meeting I had with them several months so back, that we could qualify for $125,000 to upgrade all of our documents they're currently using, our zoning plan, our general plan, and these could all be used to bring those forward to where we are today and also offset some of our other operating costs. There are some hooks to it, which anytime there is, but the idea is if we come into compliance in a reasonable length of time, we can apply for that. One of the questions, Jordan, with all the rain, I attended the RCA Executive Board. One of our biggest concern here in Western Riverside County is going to be our fire season. If you've looked at our fuel loads this year, they were almost 200+% above where they have been in years. They're flashing right now, meaning they're drying out. One of the concerns we had is how are we going to deal with this on a countywide basis, meaning Western Riverside, and what weed abatement options do we have in certain areas to maybe offset some of the catastrophic losses that have taken place. Because if we get our winds, which are normal, we are in an arid area, we could have a significant impact this year. So RCA is looking at that, as well as other county agencies and city agencies within our area. Jeffries, Supervisor District 1, Jeffries, so kindly gave out of his office $1,000 to our emergency preparedness. Check will be in in a couple of weeks. It'll go into our budget account to purchase supplies and things. We need to upgrade our stuff that we've got out into the field. We've got a golf tournament coming up that we're trying to muster up city teams from the surrounding cities to play in the Canyon Lake city-sponsored golf tournament. And so we're trying to set a bracket up just for city folks. I mean, not just meeting Canyon Lake folks, we're trying to get a competition between our surrounding cities. So we'll see how this goes. Jeremy and I actually helped in the beautification tournament last week, and so that worked out. I have a breakfast on Friday with the mayors of Riverside County. It's hosted by the league in, I think it's Beaumont, at the golf course. So they do it on a quarterly basis, and the theme is what's going on in the county. The mayor of Elsinore will be giving an overview of the difficulties they encountered this year, which, if you haven't followed, they had major incidents from floods, fires, fish kill, and flowers. And all of them, every one of them had a significant impact on their city and their budget. And right now, they are over time, they're in the red so far that they're trying to reach out and hopefully get some relief, because initially Lake Elsinore was left holding the entire financial burden before they declared an emergency. So lessons to be learned, looking forward to the upcoming meetings, and that's it for me. I think that's my 3 minutes. Thank you all. This meeting will be adjourned to May 15th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. That's 17:30 in the same room. Any questions? 5:30. 5:30. And the time now is 20:41 hours. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry.